Yes. Good morning to all. Please listen down. So, good morning to all those who joined through online. So, friends, first of all, I welcome you all to this session on introductory session on environment and ecology. Okay. So, we are all with the revision course for prelims. So, let's try to understand some basic success, basic reason behind the success of some achievers. So, if we talk about the reasons behind the success of achievers or those people who got succeeded in preliminary examination or in civil services. So, one of the important principle that they follow is they will have the patience and they will have perseverance, they will have consistency, they will have discipline, and coupled with all of these things, all the success people they will try to follow smart work. Okay, so they don't prefer to just go only with the hard work, rather they will go with smart work. So that is one another formula that they will follow. And apart from all of this, every UPSC aspirant will equally prepare for the exam, but those aspirants who will go with appropriate revision, they will succeed in the exam. So we are all with the revision process. So revision, remember that revision is the key to success in civil services examination. So those who revises the things properly, so and those who can remember and those who can recollect the things properly, they can get succeed in the exam. So you are all with that process. So I congratulate all of you for starting your revision process as early by January. Okay. So with this, let's try to begin our class. Okay. So how we'll be proceeding with our classes means, let's try to adapt a dynamic approach. Dynamic approach in the sense, if you look at the nature of questions that have been asked from environment and ecology section, questions will not only be asked from static section. Questions will also be asked from current section. So questions would be more or less like they would be interlinked. Interlinked in the sense, static portion would be interlinked with the current portion. So you need to have an appropriate knowledge of the static topics, as well as you have to have the ability to interlink these with the current topics. Okay, so applicative knowledge you need to have, and you need to have some basic commonsensical knowledge also sometimes is necessary to solve some of the questions from the environment and ecology section. Okay, so here what we are going to do means, first of all, I try to bring out various important static concepts that are related to environment and ecology, and there I will try to provide you the reference of the current linkage. So how you can just link this topic with the current section. So that is one thing. And when we go to current affairs section, so you have some separate classes for environment, ecology and science and technology likewise. So when we go to current affairs section, there we clearly discuss about the various current affairs. But here I'll try to pick those topics which are important, so that in the meantime you can go through. After going to the home, you can just revise, or you can just check that current affairs, so that you may feel comfortable when we deal the current affairs section likewise. Okay, so that thing we can do. And very important thing is that in prelims you have to go with mind mapping and brainstorming. So mind mapping and brainstorming are the two other important tools that you must possess to succeed in prelims. Okay, so brainstorming as well as mind mapping. So in our class we'll try to do that thing in the class, and usually as this is revision classes, these are revision classes, there won't be any dictation of the notes. But if you are interested, you can have running notes, you can take the running notes, or otherwise wherever it is necessary that like it is more factual information also would be there in environment ecology. So I'll try to dictate those factual things so that you can write those things, and other things you can take running notes, or anyhow you will get the sheets are like, and apart from that you also have the printed material also with you. Okay, so that is one. So that is how we are going to proceed in the class. Okay, so one thing what I would like to expect from you is that first thing is patience. So try to listen things carefully and actively. Okay, you should be an active learner rather than a passive listener. Okay, so next thing what I would like to expect from you is that as these are revision classes, whenever and wherever you can answer, I will just ask some of the questions so that you try to answer that, so that you will feel interconnected. Otherwise, you'll be just simply listening and you'll be sitting idle, so you won't feel that you are connected with the class. So that is one thing. And I'll just open the floor for online students also. So when I ask online students, then online students can answer. Otherwise, like, you can keep your devices on mute. Okay, so likewise. So let's proceed likewise. And remember, those who will speak, they will have an extra edge of clearing the exam, because those who will speak, they are nothing but they are the confident. So remove all your inferior complexes and be connected with the class and try to be interactive. And other important thing and last thing that I would like to clarify to you is that whenever you are asking a doubt, make sure that the doubt should be valid and the doubt should be useful to all the people. And if it is a doubt or mere or small doubt which is there for you, then we can have the doubt counter sessions, and I'll clarify those small doubts separately. Okay, so if it is useful for all the students, then I'll accept the doubt and I'll just clarify that doubt here itself. So that's how we proceed. Okay, so on this note, let's try to begin the topic environment and ecology. So when we talk about environment and ecology, so before we proceed anything with other aspects of the environment and ecology, we have to first of all understand what is environment. Okay, so without understanding this, then everything would be absurd. So here, if you can understand the definitions or basic meanings of this, then you can understand everything properly, clearly. So first of all, so what do you understand or what do you mean by the term environment? Can anyone? Yes, in very simple manner to say, environment is nothing but, it is nothing but surroundings of an organism. So anything that surrounds us is nothing but environment. So if we simply talk about environment, so the word environment has been derived from a French word. So the French word, that is environner. It has been derived from a French word environner, which further refers to surround. Which further refers to surround. So from this etymological perspective, we can say that anything that surrounds us is nothing but environment. Is that clear? So anything that surrounds us in the sense, for example, if you take up this classroom, so in this classroom itself, there are so many students with you. That means if you consider yourself as an organism like human, so there are so many humans. And can you expect some microorganisms like virus, bacteria or fungi in this classroom? So they are also there with you. And can you expect that there are some non-living things, like for example, podium is there, chairs are there, like board is there, so all such kind of things. Light is there and air is there, gases are there likewise. So there are so many things that are that surrounds an organism. So all those living as well as non-living things that surrounds an organism, that refers to the environment of an organism. Is that clear? So environment. So everything, anything and everything that surrounds an organism. So that is nothing but environment. So here, when we are talking from the perspective of an organism, so we are saying that it is nothing but the surroundings. So in surroundings, we have already said that living things would be there and non-living things would be there. So based on this, we have various components of the environment. Okay. So now let us try to see what are the various components of the environment. So this is very, very important for you to understand. So when we talk from the environment, components of environment. So what are the basic components of environment? Yes, good. So biotic and abiotic components. Okay. So here, okay. So if we take an organism, so every organism will have some of the living things as well as some non-living things that surrounds it. So surrounding an organism, can you see some plants? Okay. Can you see some animals? Yes. Can you see some birds? Can you see some insects? Can you see some microorganisms or microbes? Okay, so if you assume yourself as an organism, so we can see all of them surrounding that us. So then, if you take up another side, there can be some non-living things. So non-living things. So can you say some of the non-living things that surrounds an organism? Yes, yes, air, good. So first thing is air or gases. We can have air or gases that surrounds us. Okay, so then yes, good. So water and water bodies. So sunlight and temperature. Can you see? And then what else? Yes. So can we see soils plus rocks? Okay. And then can you see some minerals and chemicals? So we can see all such kind of things that surrounds an organism. So all of them together, they would be known as these surroundings, and they are nothing but various components. So if we look at these things, one thing that is common with this thing is that they are all living components. Okay, so they are all life. They are all have life. So we can say them as living components, living things, and these are all non-living things. They are all non-living things. So all the living things are regarded as the biotic components. So they are all nothing but biotic components, and they are nothing but abiotic components. Okay. So in this manner, if you look from the definition of environment, so in simple manner to say, in other manner to say, how we can define environment means all the biotic as well as abiotic, all the biotic as well as abiotic components that surrounds an organism and which have the potential to influence an organism, which has the potential to influence an organism. So we are saying that they are not only surrounding, so they are just surrounding plus they have the potential to influence. So what do you mean by potential to influence? Now, you just take up an example of, let's say, sunlight or temperature. So can you see that some animals would be active during the daytime, and some animals would be active only during the night time, and some animals will feel like they will respond to the temperature, like for example in summer some organisms will have some of the responses, so they will have likewise. And in all the manners, so all the biotic components as well as abiotic components will have a kind of influence over the organism. Okay, so that is one thing. So this is how we can define. So in this manner, how we can say that environment is nothing but the sum total of all the biotic as well as abiotic factors that surrounds an organism. So this is how also we can define environment. Is that clear? So you have to remember this thing. And here we are saying that an organism will have influence of the biotic as well as abiotic components. So you remember that. So if we are saying that it has influence, so when an organism is getting influenced by its surroundings, will it show a kind of response to that? Won't it show a response? So obviously it will show a response. So what kind of responses does an organism show to its surroundings? So that is another important aspect that we have to understand. So when we talk from the perspective of responses of organisms, response of organisms usually to its physical environment. Usually they will show responses to the physical environment. So physical environment means abiotic components. It can be sunlight, it can be the temperature, or it can be all other things like water, air, gas, or all those things likewise. So usually organisms will show responses to the physical environment. So here when we talk about the responses of living organisms, so living organisms can be broadly, generally categorized into two basic things, two broad things. So one is nothing but the responses of plants, responses of plants to various abiotic components. Okay, so then we can also have responses of animals separately, responses of animals. To the abiotic components. Okay, so what are the important responses that plants will show towards the abiotic components? So when we generally talk about one response, light is an abiotic component, isn't it? So light is part and parcel of the physical environment of the plant. So how plants will respond to the light? So when we talk about the response of the plant towards the light, there are two important types of responses that a plant will give. So one thing is nothing but it is phototropism. Phototropism is one response. Okay, and the next one is nothing but photonasty. Photonasty. Photonasty and phototropism. These are nothing but two important responses that plant gives to the light. So you remember the word photo. Photo refers to light. So usually you might have while submitting the application, you will submit your passport size photo. So there you will go for studio and you will take a photo. So there, can you witness light? So you remember, like, light refers to photo means light. Okay, so wherever you get the word photo means light, you remember that. So here, so what is phototropism? Phototropism means some plants will show some sort of directional response to the light. So phototropism is nothing but it's a kind of directional response of the plants to the light or sunlight. So here we will have two types of phototropism. One would be positive phototropism, other would be negative phototropism. What is positive phototropism? For example, let's say if there is a plant and if there is a sunlight, if sunlight is coming and if plant will bend towards, let's say if plant is bending towards the sunlight, so then it is moving in direction towards the direction of the sunlight. So that would be known as positive phototropism. And in opposite to this, if it tries to bend away from the sunlight, so then that would be known as negative phototropism. So these kind of movements would be shown by some of the plants. So that is one type of response. Okay, so then next we have photonasty. So here we have said that directional response of the plant towards the light. So it is usually concerned with the direction of the sunlight. Either it is moving towards the direction of the sunlight or away from the direction of sunlight. So that is phototropism. Whereas photonasty means what? It is, it does not depend upon the direction of the sunlight. It does not depend upon the direction of the sunlight. Rather, it simply depends upon the sunlight as the stimulus. So if sunlight is there, then there would be a kind of response. If sunlight is not there, then there would be a different response. So you can remember the leaves of oxalis plant. How the leaves of oxalis plants. So oxalis plants, if you take the leaves of oxalis plant, they will bloom, they will open during sunlight, and during the dark they will droop. So drooping and opening of the leaves of oxalis plant can be considered as an example for the photonasty. Okay, I hope you might have also saw the videos also. So can you able to recollect those videos we have already saw? Okay, so that is photonastic for movement. That is one thing. So then the next abiotic component that we have would be temperature. Okay, so temperature, when we talk from the perspective of temperature, plants will show a kind of response to the temperature. So the response that plants gives to the temperature is nothing but thermonasty. Thermonasty. Nasty means it's a kind of shyness. It's a kind of shyness, or it's a kind of response, we can say. So thermo means temperature. Response of a plant towards temperature as the stimulus is nothing but thermonasty. Can you able to follow that? So that is one. And then, so apart from this, we also can have darkness as the response, or darkness as the stimulus. So for darkness, some plants, like let's say some of the leguminous plants, will show some of the responses. Okay, so there, response of the plants for darkness as the stimulus is nothing but nictinasty. Nictinasty. Nicti means night time. Nocturnal. Have you heard of the word nocturnal? Nocturnal means those organisms which are active during night time. So nocturnal. So in the similar fashion, nicti means night. You remember, like. So response of the plants to the darkness. So that is nothing but nictinasty. Okay, so that is one. And then apart from this, you also will have response of the plants towards the touch. So do you remember Mimosa pudica, touch me not plant? So how, if you touch the plant, then its leaves will fall. So can you able to recollect that? So plants also will show a kind of response to the touch. So if touch is the stimulus and the response of the plant to the touch is nothing but thigmonasty. That is nothing but thigmonasty. So these are some of the important responses of the plants towards the abiotic factors. And we also have other things like photoperiodism. Photoperiodism, response or response of the plant towards its physiological growth and development with reference to length of the day. So physiological responses like growth and development of the plant depends upon the length of the day. So such kind of response is known as photoperiodism. So can you able to see the word period? Okay, so photoperiodism is another response. So with respect to photo, light, period, length, so length of the day. If length of the day is more, then the plant growth would be more. If length of the day reduces, plant growth will get reduces. So likewise, so that is another type of response that it will plants will show. So they are all nothing but various responses of the plants to the various abiotic components. Okay, so here very key is that you have to understand what are the various abiotic components. That's what we have done in the first slide. Okay, so try to remember. When you know the basics, then only you can interconnect everything with others. So then, in the similar fashion, animals also will show responses to various abiotic factors. So if you look from the responses of animals to various abiotic factors or physical environment, so we can summarize them as like general responses as well as specific responses. General responses will be there and specific responses also would be there. Okay, so what are the various general responses? So we have things like regulation is one such general response, or confirmation is another type of general response. Regulation, confirmation, migration is another response, or diapause, and the last one we will have is suspension. So regulation is one thing, confirmation is one thing, migration is one thing, and diapause is one thing, suspension is another response. So what do you mean by regulation? Regulation, some organisms are known as regulators. So can you say what is regulation, or what might have been the concept of regulation? Yes, below there, someone, right? Yes. Yes, very good. So exactly. So some organisms will have the mechanism to maintain the constant body conditions. That means, let's say, for example, some organisms will have the mechanisms to maintain or regulate their body temperature irrespective of the surroundings. Like, let's say, for example, mammals and birds. Birds and mammals have the ability to maintain the constant body temperature, and that process is known as homeostasis, or that kind of animals are known as, they are known as warm-blooded animals. And what is the other name for warm-blooded animals? Other name, they are endotherms. Endotherms means those organisms which can maintain their body temperature constantly. So endotherms. And here, that is one thing. So maintaining constant body temperature is nothing but, that is regulation. And conformation is other thing. So here you try to remember about the cold-blooded animals. Cold-blooded animals means, like you say, fishes, amphibians and reptiles. So all of them, either fishes, amphibians, reptiles, they cannot maintain the constant body temperature. Rather, their body temperature will be dependent upon the external surfaces or outside the environment, outside of their environment. That means to say, if a lizard is there on the wall, so if the wall is cold, then it adapts, it takes up all that kind of temperature and its body will become cold. Or if it goes near to the light, let's say, so you can see sometimes lizards going towards the light, likewise. So when they go there, obviously it takes up the heat from that and its body also will become warm, likewise. So here you can remember that those some organisms will conform with the temperature or the conditions that are outside of them. So those organisms which doesn't have the mechanism of regulating their constant body conditions, and their body conditions or temperature depends upon the external surfaces. Okay, so that kind of mechanism is nothing but conformation. They are conforming with the external surfaces, likewise. So that is conformation. Then, in order to escape some of the unfavorable situations, like let's say temperature, unfavorable situation, let's say extreme summer, extreme winter, some organisms will move from one place to another place. Okay, so such mechanism is known as migration. And diapause is nothing but a temporary suspension of the metabolic activities and getting into a state of dormancy. Diapause is a kind of animal dormancy. That means it is a state of inactiveness. Animal dormancy is known as diapause, and suspension means like some of the metabolic activities would be suspended temporarily. Okay, so we'll have things like hibernation, estivation. Have you heard of that? Hibernation and estivation. So they are nothing but some of the activities that comes under suspension. Okay, so that is one thing. So these are general responses. Okay, and then when we talk from the perspective of the specific responses means responses of animals to the light, how they will respond. Okay, so when we look from the perspective of sunlight, response to the sunlight, so how they will respond. Usually we will have two kinds of responses. So some animals or some organisms will be active during the daytime. So those animals which are active during daytime are nothing but diurnal animals or diurnal organisms. Okay, those organisms are those animals which are active during the night time. They are nothing but nocturnal animals or nocturnal organisms. Is that clear? So we have to look for various examples also. So I'll try to dictate the examples. So you remember, this is that. So day active animals, organisms, and night active organisms are those organisms which will be active more in daytime than the night time, more in night time than the daytime. So that is also another way how we can define. Okay, so yes, yes. Yes. Yes, diapause and suspension. So suspension is nothing but during some situations, some of the metabolic activities would be completely suspended by some organisms. So let's say hibernation and estivation. It's a kind of suspending the metabolic activities. So that is suspension. So when we talk from diapause, it's a state of animal dormancy. Animal dormancy means here also more or less things looks like same, but here in dormant stage means they will remain completely inactive, and when favorable situations comes, they'll further becomes active. Likewise, so thing would be that like it would be with respect to the metabolic activities. Okay. Okay, so that is with reference to these specific responses, so sunlight. And then we can also have responses of the organisms or animals to the temperature. Okay, so how they will respond to the temperature. So in order to escape the extremes of the temperature, they will show three types of responses. One would be hibernation, and other would be estivation, and other one would be migration. Okay, so hibernation, estivation, and migration. So what is hibernation? Hibernation is nothing but it's a kind of winter sleep. You remember, like hibernation refers to a kind of winter sleep. That means in order to escape the extreme conditions during the winter, usually usually animals will go to a state of inactiveness. Animals will go to a state of inactiveness where where all the metabolic activities would be slowed down. Let's say, for example, digestion, let's say respiration, let's say regulation of the temperature of the body. So all of these things will be slowed down. So that process is nothing but hibernation. That's a kind of response. So it is a kind of winter sleep. Okay, so that is hibernation. And then estivation. Estivation is another type of response where we can say it as a kind of summer sleep. So some organisms will go for will reduce their metabolic activities, or they will go into a state of inactiveness during summer so as to escape from the harsh environmental conditions. Okay, so that is one thing. So then migration is anyhow, it is well known to you. So these are all nothing but some of the responses of the plants, as well as plants and animals uh, to the various physical environment. So that is one thing. So this is one thing. So you can just have a look even in your uh, the documents that would be circulated to you. So there you will have basic things that would be listed here. So even if you do not write anything also, you will have things written here. So things would be summarized here. So what is the definition of environment? So you can go through all the definitions. And what are the various abiotic factors and biotic factors? You will have a list of all those things. And then what are the various responses of organisms to abiotic factors? We have studied regulation, conformation, migration, suspension, diapause. So you can read from here so that you will further enrich the knowledge if you do not have clarity. Okay, so that is one thing. So you will also have examples. Okay, so you can just pick from this and you can just cover it from this document. And then we were just reading with responses of the plants to various physical things. So can you see like in photonasty, leaves of Axalis triangularis. So this is one example you can pick. And thermonasty, blooming of tulip flowers. Tulip flowers will bloom when sunlight will fall and when sufficient temperature will be illuminated. So that is a kind of response. So thermonasty. And then thigmonasty, Mimosa pudica and Venus flytrap. So Venus flytrap, do you remember pitcher plant or Nepenthes? So pitcher plant also will catches various things, and Venus flytrap. So the Nepenthes plant that will it will Venus flytrap. So that is also another example. So nyctinasty, some leguminous plants will show some response. So that is one thing. So likewise we have that. So responses of animals. So diurnal animals, nocturnal animals. So you have some of the examples. Okay. So can you name some diurnal animals? Can you name some diurnal animals? Yes, human beings, very good. Yes, cows, good. Birds, yes, some of the birds. Yes. Then Yes, elephants. So wild animals also, it is important in environment ecology. We have to pick the examples from the wild animals rather than the general animals. So we also have to list out various nocturnal animals so that questions would be picked from this section. So though the topic looks very simple, but it is factual and you need to know whether an animal is nocturnal or diurnal. For example, why this is important means, try to look at this question from the question which has been asked in 2023. In 2023, this was one question. Just go through the question. Consider the following fauna. Fauna means animals. Okay. So lion-tailed macaque, then Malabar civet, and then sambar deer. So look at the question. How many of the above are generally nocturnal or most active after sunset? That was the question. So usually we will try to study various advanced concepts, but when the questions been picked from the basics, there we will just struck. And here this question is mostly factual. Is there any chance to guess here? We cannot guess. We need to have the knowledge. So sometimes factual knowledge also matters. Okay. So for these kind of things, we need to have a good list of the examples. Even if I say, for example, Malabar civet and sambar deer are the nocturnal, and lion-tailed macaque is diurnal, you cannot remember. So some things are better to write. Okay. So you just write some of the examples for these things. So for such kind of things, we need proper examples and not just from for common examples, wildlife examples we need. Okay. So we'll try to list out them and try to write them quickly. Okay. So mention diurnal animals. Diurnal animals. Diurnal animals. Okay. So there you mention humans, chimpanzees, gorillas, apes, monkeys, like you mentioned macaque. Macaque is a kind of monkey. Okay, macaque, M-A-C-A-Q-U-U, macaque. Then you mention like birds like eagle, vultures, cranes, etc., etc. Okay, so diurnal animals are very common. So you can see whatever the various animals, organisms that are active in the daytime, you can observe. But thing is that we have to have clarity about the nocturnal animals. Okay, so which animals are nocturnal? So now, what do you think? Tiger is a nocturnal or diurnal from your perspective? Hmm? Mhm. Nocturnal. For example, like have you ever wondered, like when they go for tiger census, they will collect the tiger pug marks. So when they will collect the tiger pug marks? In the daytime. So if they want to collect in the daytime, so when the tiger should have roamed? In the night. So mostly tigers would be active in the night than the daytime. Okay, remember that. So usually this kind of examples will trouble you. And here you remember the definition also. Those organisms which will be active in the night time than the daytime. That means we are not saying that they are active only during the night time. It is not, it is wrong thing to define. But right thing is that those organisms which would be active in the daytime than the night time are nothing but diurnal. Those are active during the night time than the daytime. They are nothing but nocturnal. So this would be the most appropriate way to define. So like this kind of examples may confuse you in the exam. So other things may be simple. So if such owl or like these things you can say, but some of such kind of examples may trouble you. So you mentioned nocturnal animals. Nocturnal animals. So in home, you remember from home and imagine. So environment ecology is all about imagination. So whatever the examples we are learning, you imagine how you can witness them. First, you mentioned rats, rodents, Rodents means all mouse, mice, all such kind of things. Okay, more rodents. Then bats, 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 comma owl, owl, owl. Then tigers, among wild animals, tigers, leopards, leopards, wolf, wolf, fox, wolf, fox. Then you mentioned about loris, Lories, loris, loris, loris. Then hedgehog, hedgehog. Okay, hedgehog. So you remember these examples when we go to biodiversity portion, there we will look at the images. Or if you are not clear, so then just go through the images once when you go home. Okay, so hedgehog, it is another nocturnal animal. Then you mentioned about flying squirrel, flying squirrel, flying squirrel. Then sloth bear, sloth, sloth, sloth bear. Sloth bear is also nocturnal animal. Then Malabar civet, Malabar civet. Then sambar deer, sambar deer, sambar deer. So these are some of the important diurnal animals, sorry, nocturnal animals. So diurnal as well as nocturnal animals. So pick from this, and what you have to do. These are some examples. So whenever you come across any nocturnal animal in your study, means like in current affairs, we will have a lot of animals of importance. So pick which are nocturnal and which are diurnal. Segregate them and make a good list of them. That is one thing. And then what about, yes, what about aquatic? Aquatic creatures. So aquatic creatures will have response towards the water temperature. Okay, so water temperature. We can't say them with respect to whether they are active during the daytime or nighttime, but we can say with respect to the temperature of the water likewise. Okay, so haline, we can say with respect to the salinity. So if we talk from saline perspective, aquatic organisms, so aquatic organisms will show response to the salinity. So some organisms will be, they would be like, so some organisms can withstand the saline conditions. So those organisms which can withstand the saline conditions are nothing but euryhaline organisms. Okay, are euryhaline organisms, and some organisms can withstand small degrees of salinity. So they are nothing but stenohaline. Stenohaline. In the similar fashion, we also can have responses to the temperature, eurythermal and stenothermal. Eurythermal means U means true. So truly they can withstand the various with reference to various degree of temperature. So to the cold water or to the warm water, they can withstand. So they will be known as eurythermal organisms. You make it eurythermal. Okay, so stenothermal. So thermal means temperature, stenothermal means which can withstand less temperature variations. They are nothing but stenothermal organisms. So likewise, so we will have that with respect to aquatic organisms. Okay, so that is one thing. So this is with respect to the diurnal and nocturnal. Then you mentioned about some of the hibernating animals. Hibernating animals. Hibernating animals. Okay, so there you write examples like rats, rodents, bears, rats, rodents, bears, bats, hedgehog, marsupials. Can you name any marsupial? Marsupial. Anyone from online? Marsupial organism. Marsupials. Okay, I'll give you a clue. So they'll be seen generally in Australia. Yes. Yes, good. Kangaroos. Kangaroos is an example for marsupial. So they are also hibernating animals. So marsupials, then some snakes, they'll go for hibernation. Then ground squirrels. Then you mentioned about raccoon. Then chico, wood chico. So these are like generally rodent, they belongs to rodent family. So wood chico would be like, it would be like a kind of mouse. Okay, so these are some of the examples for the hibernating animals. Okay, factual information, just to go through them and collect some more examples for that. Then mention about estivating animals. Okay, so there you write earthworms, frogs, toads, 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 bees, snails, salamanders, tortoises, turtles, crocodiles, beetles, 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 mosquitoes. Okay, so they are some of the important estivating animals. So to this list, add up some other organisms which you come across in your preparation. So then mention about some of the ectothermic animals. Ectothermic means they are nothing but cold-blooded. Good. So under that you mention fishes, amphibians, and reptiles. Fishes, amphibians, and reptiles. Invertebrate animals. Okay, so that is one thing. Then you mentioned about some endothermic animals. Endothermic, warm-blooded animals. Okay, so there you mentioned birds and mammals. Okay, so then last one you mentioned about examples for diapers. Okay, so you mentioned like bears, seals, SEALS, seals. Seals are aquatic animals. Seals, zooplanktons, and insects. Okay, so these are some of the important examples. So try to collect such kind of things. So now, why these things are important means, now you look, when you see the questions that have been asked, not now, but very earlier, before 2015 question. So they have given list of animals and they have asked the question that bats, bears, and rodents they have given, and the question was the phenomena of hibernation can be observed in which of the following kinds of animals. So this is also in turn factual. So bats, bears, rodents. So you have to pick such kind of things. So for that you need to have the knowledge of these factual things likewise. So there they have picked nocturnal things and they have picked hibernating things, and there is every possibility that UPSC may move towards other things, like they may pick diapers, they may pick estivating animals, they may pick the diurnal animals next time, or they may pick such kind of things that have been missed like ectotherms and endotherms. They may move to that section. So be ready for such kind of new things that UPSC may do in the course of time. So that is with respect to what is environment and what are the various responses of animals to the environment. So that is one. And then, so here we were discussing with respect to the static concept of the environment. And now how we can bring it and how we can interconnect it with other subjects, like let's say polity, how we can interconnect it with the science and technology, how we can interconnect it with the current aspects. So we have to understand that. So when we look from the perspective of dynamic aspects, so first thing, if we look from environment, so we have various constitutional provisions related to environment. Okay, so you have to remember what are the various constitutional provisions that are related to environment. So if you look from that perspective, constitutional provisions, so where you can see things related to environment, provisions related to environment. Can you see anything with respect to the fundamental rights? Fundamental rights, is there any provision related to fundamental rights related to environment?
The Supreme Court has interpreted right under right to life and liberty, right to clean environment.
Yes, good, good.
That also recognized as a human right.
Yes, good. So one very important thing that you can remember is Article 21. Do you remember Article 21? So what is Article 21? Yes, be louder. Yes, right to life and personal liberty. So under that, Supreme Court, under its judicial pronouncement, it has declared right to clean environment as a fundamental right which comes under the ambit of Article 21. Okay, so that is under this article we have right to clean environment, right to clean environment. So this is one important thing that you have to remember. Can you able to remember that? So that is one thing. And then here, when we are talking with respect to this, so we are saying that it can be asked like this: right to clean environment is explicitly mentioned, is an explicit fundamental right. Is this right? Is this true? Yes, it is implicitly mentioned. That means it is implicit under Article 21. So you have to be clear with such kind of things. Okay. So right to clean environment is a part and parcel of Article 21, but it is an implicitly mentioned one because it has been interpreted by the Supreme Court. So likewise, you have to remember. So explicit means which is being mentioned outrightly. Likewise, right to life and personal liberty, it is an explicit right, whereas right to clean environment is an implicit right. So you remember that. And then next, is there any provision related to environment with reference to DPSP? DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. Yes, Article 48. Yeah, good. So you have to remember Article 48. Yeah. So Article 48A, it is related to environment. So it states that the state shall endeavor to protect the environment and promote the various aspects related to environment. So forest, wildlife and all those things, state has to protect. So this is one thing. So under DPSP also we have that one. Okay, so that is one right. Okay, you just go through the what is Article 48 so that you remember. But you have to remember this. And then, is there anything with respect to fundamental duties? Yes. Yes, who can say which fundamental duty is concerned with environment, forest and wildlife? 51A, good. It is fundamental duties under 51A, yes? Yes, it is good. So it is Article 51A subclass G. So it is under fundamental duties. It shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect the environment and to conserve wildlife and forests. So that is one fundamental duty. So these are some of the constitutional provisions. Now we have said that it is an implicit article which has been pronounced by the Supreme Court. So under which judicial pronouncement it has been given. So that is also one another thing that they may pick and they may ask. Like there was a case with reference to thing like Subhash Kumar versus state of Bihar. So there was a case called Subhash Kumar versus state of Bihar. So in that case, versus state of Bihar. So in this case, right to environment has been Supreme Court has pronounced that right to clean environment as a fundamental right under the ambit of Article 21, or right to pollution-free environment. So, to be precise, right to pollution-free environment was the thing that has been announced there. Okay, so that was one thing with respect to the Supreme Court pronouncement. Right to pollution-free environment, or right to clean environment. So that is one thing. And there was another important judicial pronouncement with reference to environment, one thing. So that was like, it is a case related to MC Mehta. MC Mehta versus Union of India. So this was a case that was happening in and around 1986 to 1988. In this period, it was happening. It was with reference to the pollution of the Ganga river. So MC Mehta filed a case with reference to pollution of the Ganga river. So in this context of MC Mehta versus Union of India case, so Supreme Court has given another pronouncement that it stipulated to create environmental awareness among all these citizens. Okay, so here you can remember, like, this was related to create environmental awareness. So you remember, this is another important judicial pronouncement. So you can remember, there are so many other things, but these two are contextual in our perspective. So one thing is Subhash Kumar versus State of Bihar case. So other thing is MC Mehta versus Union of India 1986 case. So these two cases you remember one thing. So that is one thing. And then when we look from other perspectives, apart from the constitutional things, if you look from the international point of view, so which day is celebrated as World Environment Day? Yes, good. World Environment Day. So World Environment Day is celebrated every year on 5th June. So this is good. And since which year we are celebrating this? And what is the context that why we have declared 5th June as the World Environment Day? So there should be a context, there should be a reason why we should declare. So what's the reason? So what has happened here means, on 5th June 1972, you remember the year, very, very important. 1972 is a landmark in environment and ecology. You have to remember it altogether, your preparation. 1972. So what happened? Yes. So in 1972, there was a conference, like Stockholm Conference. In Sweden, there was a conference that is known as Stockholm Conference on Human Environment. So this conference has held in 1972 on 5th June. Okay, so this was held in Stockholm. It's a place in Sweden. Okay, so in order to commemorate the first meeting of the Stockholm Conference on Human Environment, so 5th June has been declared as World Environment Day. Okay, so you remember that one. And as an outcome of this conference, you remember that outcome, one of the important outcome which has happened in 1972 is that, so there they have resolved to constitute United Nations Environmental Program. So United Nations Environmental Program, it's an organization that was an outcome of the Stockholm Conference. You remember that also. Now, what is important is that it is in 1972. Now, by 2022, it has completed 50 years. And as it has completed, UNEP has completed 50 years. So try to just go through whatever the initiatives and the important aspects that UNEP does with reference to environment. So that is one thing. And then next, if you look from other important aspects, when was the world's first Environment Day celebrated? Okay, so first Environment Day. So at international level, first Environmental Day has been celebrated in the year 1973. Okay, so this is to commemorate this meeting, and from 1973 onwards, we have started celebrating World's Environment Day. And there, the first World's Environment Day has been celebrated in Switzerland. It has been celebrated in Switzerland, and the theme was related to, this was only one Earth. Only one Earth. So as we have only one Earth, that is living planet, we have to protect it and conserve it. So that was the theme for that, only one Earth. So this happened in 1973. And now, which year is running? 2023? 2023. So that means it is the 50th anniversary of World's Environment Day. So you have to be very much conscious about these developments. Okay. So now, if we talk from current thing, like we are celebrating 50th Environment Day. You remember that. And now we are in which year? 2023. It has been done. So by 2023, 50th thing has been done. So still in 2024, we didn't get June. So we have to consider that 50th anniversary only would be the thing. So for 50th, so where this, which is the seat, means it is Cote d'Ivory. Cote d'Ivory, it is the seat. So it is the seat. And the theme, what is the theme for this year's 2023? Yes. Beat plastic pollution. So that was a theme that has been adapted when India was the seat. So in 2018, as a part of 45th World Environment Day, India was the seat, and India's theme was beat plastic pollution. Now, in 2023, the theme of it is solutions for plastic pollution. Solutions for plastic pollution. You remember that. So theme is solutions for plastic pollution. But nevertheless, we can also say it is, in one way, beat pollution is the major theme. Okay, so which has already been adapted by India on 45th Environment Day. 45th day. So it was held in 2018, and India was the seat, and the theme was beat plastic pollution. Beat plastic pollution. Okay, so these things you have to remember. Okay, so that is one another important aspects that you have to remember. And next, very important thing is that we have declared that right to clean environment is a fundamental right in India, and this has been implicit in Article 21. And what about at the international level? Right to clean environment, is it a fundamental right? Is it a human right? Is it a legal right? Or is it what kind of right at international level? So that is another important thing. Can you guess what it could be? Is it a fundamental right? Yes? Good. Yes, good. Very good. It is universal human right. Universal human right. So we have Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So UDHR, do you remember UDHR? Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So it would be done by United Nations Human Resource Council. There is one council called UNHRC, United Nations Human Rights Council. So very recently in 2021-2022 period, so United Nations Human Rights Council has declared right to clean environment as a universal. It has voted for right to clean environment as the universal human right. Okay, universal human right. At present, at international stands, that is the status. Right to clean, sustainable and healthy environment. So to be precise, right to clean, healthy and sustainable environment has been adapted or has been pronounced as the right to by UNHRC as universal human right. So you remember this thing also. So these are various developments that have happened that you have to remember from the current perspective, and that's how you have to interlink the things. Okay, so that is with reference to basics of environment. And this is how, for example, where when we were talking about the diurnal, nocturnal endothermic, ectothermic. There you have to connect it with the science and technology and various taxonomical classification of organisms. So that also you have to remember slightly. Okay, that is with reference to environment. And then let's move towards what is ecology. Let's try to understand what is ecology. So when we talk from the perspective of ecology, the word ecology has been derived from a Greek word called oikology. Oikology. So here the word oikology has been further, it is made up of two words. So one is oikos and other one is logos. Oikos and logos. So what do you mean by oikos? Oikos means what? Anyone? Yes, good. It is nothing but home, or it is nothing but the household, or it is nothing but the habitat, or it is nothing but the place of living, or in simple manner it is nothing but it's the place of living of an organism. And logos, usually logos refers to study or study of. So here what is ecology means in very simple fashion, it is nothing but it is a systematic study of the organisms at its habitat, or at its home, or at its household, or at its place of living. So it's the systematic study of the organism at its home. So that is ecology in very simple fashion from etymological perspective. Okay, so then if we further try to elaborate the meaning of the ecology, in environment we have said that there would be various organisms, isn't it? Organism would be there, and various things that surround is nothing but environment. So an organism would be there and environment would be there. So we have said that an organism will be influenced by its environment. It is influenced by its environment means, can we say that the various biotic components may interact among themselves? Let's say for example tiger. Tiger is a species of animal. Tiger can tiger interact among other with other tiger species, and can abiotic factors can influence the tiger in return? So how we can define in other ways is that ecology can be defined as it is a systematic study of the interactions of organisms among themselves and with their physical environment. Okay, it's a systematic study. When we try to do that kind of systematic study of this organisms or interactions of organisms and with their environment, such kind of study is known as ecology. Study of such interactions. So interactions will be there in between the organisms or in between the organism with its physical environment. So that part of that study is known as ecology. Okay, so that is one thing. And in other words, when we talk, for example, from the point of entire earth as a habitat, can we say earth as a habitat for all the living organisms? Habitat means the place where an organism lives. The place of living of an organism is nothing but habitat. Like let's say some organisms will live on the land, so terrestrial habitat. Some organisms will live on the water, live in the water, so aquatic habitat. Some organisms will live in the grasslands. Let's say elephants, they will live in grasslands or such kind. So grassland is the habitat. Forest habitat. So forest can be a habitat. Like oceans can be a habitat. River can be a habitat. Anything can be a habitat. So the place of living of an organism is nothing but habitat. Can you able to understand that? So now, if you remember that earth as entire habitat for all the living organisms. So from earth's perspective, how we can define means study of earth as a household for living organisms. Can you remember that? Study of earth as a household for living organisms. So that in that fashion also we can define ecology. So in various manners we can define. So if you think from earth's point of view, that is that. If you think from habitat point of view, so study of organism and its interactions among themselves and with the physical environment. So that is ecology. So that's how we can define ecology in various fashions. Okay. So there, when we talk from the perspective of the ecology, so here we are saying that organisms and interactions of organisms. So when we talk from the perspective of the interactions, based on the interactions, based on the subject matter of study of ecology, we can have two branches. One would be art ecology and other branch would be sign ecology. Art ecology and sign ecology. So basically, simply, what is art ecology? Have you heard of the word autobiography? In autobiography, who will write the autobiography? Person. So there, can you remember one single person is writing about his self? Can you remember likewise? So now, you remember art ecology means it's a systematic study of a particular individual, a particular individual or particular species in a ecosystem. So when you systematically study about a particular organism or particular individual, so here you will study about individual, particular individual or organism, or you will study a particular species, tiger species, or like let's say elephant species, or let's say leopard species, or you will study about let's say a particular flower. Like in garden there can be various flowers. So if you study about various information about a particular flower, so then that would be subject matter of art ecology. Okay, so as we are doing this, so art ecology is also known as species ecology. So like for example, interaction of one tiger with another tiger, let's say for example for mating. So if you study that, this is the part and parcel of art ecology. Can you remember? So that's, and then what is scene ecology? Scene ecology means if you take in ecosystem, there would be lot of species of organisms. Let's say tiger species, let's say deer species, let's say horse, let's say elephants. So there would be various species of animals. So what is scene ecology means when you try to study about two or more species, when you try to study about two or more species belonging to an ecosystem, then that kind of study is nothing but the scene ecology. Okay, so it's a systematic study of the interactions among two or more species belonging to an ecosystem. Likewise, okay, so let's say for example, tigers and deers, can they have interaction? So tigers and deers, let's say for example, they will have predator and prey relation. Tiger would be the predator and deer would be the prey. So there is a kind of interaction. So in the similar fashion, like let's say for example, deer and let's say grass. So it is one living thing, and there is interaction. So some sort of relation between them. So when we do that, so that is nothing but scene ecology, part and parcel of scene ecology. And as we are trying to study about two or more species, so it is also known as community ecology. So community ecology. So community is made up of, it's an assemblage of various populations, tiger population, elephant population, deer population, likewise. So community, biotic community is that thing. So here in community ecology, we'll study about a biotic community and various interactions that are happening in a biotic community. So that is one thing. So this is basically with respect to the branches. Okay. So then there are some of the basic facts related to ecology. So basically, when we talk from the point of the term ecology, who coined the term ecology? Yes, it is? Yes, good. So the term ecology was coined by Ernst Haeckel. So when he has coined it? It is in 1869. So in the year 1869, Ernst Haeckel, a German biologist, has coined the word ecology. Okay, whereas its authentic use, when we talk from the perspective of its authentic use, its authentic use has been done by another scholar called writer. So with the usage of writers, the word ecology has got popularized, and then onwards it has picked the pace. So that is with reference to the term ecology. And then, who is regarded as father of ecology? Father of ecology. Yes, very good. So it is Alexander van Humboldt. Alexander van Humboldt. So have you heard about Humboldt current in environment and ecology? So Humboldt current, Peru current, Peruvian current, cold current. So Alexander van Humboldt. So that was also named in commemoration to Alexander van Humboldt. So he was one of the important scholars who has done various studies with reference to the environment and ecology. So he was regarded as father of ecology. Now, who is regarded as father of modern ecology? Father of modern ecology. Yes. Anyone? So then, yes, yes,
The Eugene order.
yes, good. Yes, good. It is Eugene P. Odom. He is regarded as father of modern ecology. And there is other student who is saying about Ramdev Mishra. So Ramdev Mishra is regarded as father of, yes, very good. So father of Indian ecology. So these are some of the important points that you have to remember. Okay. So good. So these facts you have to remember. Okay. So ecology, Ernst Haeckel. So authentic use by writers, father of ecology, Alexander von Humboldt, and father of modern ecology, Eugene P. Odom, and the father of Indian ecology, that is Ramdev Mishra. So just after going home, just go through what were the important contributions of them. Just go through once, Google it, so that you can further understand what are the contributions likewise. Okay, so that is one important thing that you have to keep in mind. Okay, so then when we talk from other important aspects point of view, we have to talk about there are various levels of organization in an ecology, or we can also call it as ecological hierarchy. Okay, so ecological hierarchy. So what is ecological hierarchy? When we talk from the perspective of ecological hierarchy, it is made up of various levels. That means hierarchy is nothing but systematic arrangement of various things in a systematic fashion, in a layered fashion. So here, if we look from the organism's point of view, so there we have basically when we talk cells, cell is the basic unit of life, isn't it? So various group of cells will make, yes, good, tissues. Okay, so then group of tissues will make an organ. So it makes an organ, and group of organs will make organ systems, and thus the organism would be formed. So organism would be formed like this. And here when we talk from the perspective of an organism, group of organisms or assemblage of an organism or various organisms or individuals refers to population. That means group of organisms belonging to a particular species in a particular time belonging to a particular place. Let's say for example, a tiger population belonging to a forest, particular forest in 2023. So in a given time period, in a given place, and a group of people, group of organisms belonging to a particular species, and that is nothing but population. Okay, and then at the next level we can have an assemblage of various populations. Let's say tiger population, deer population, let's say elephant population, let's say all other, any other human population, dog population, cow population, assemblage of various populations in a particular area. So that is nothing but a community. So community. So even in with humans perspective also, you might have saw community residency area. Like community, it's a community means various people belonging to different professions would be living in a particular area. So that is nothing but community. Okay, so then when community, the next level of ecological hierarchy is, it is ecosystem. 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 So the name itself, it is talking with respect to a system. System is nothing but it's a complex of coordinated units. System means complex of coordinated units. Eco means related to environment. So in the environment, there would be a complex of coordinated units. That means units of an ecosystem are nothing but abiotic components and biotic components. So in an ecosystem, there would be a systematic interaction of organisms among themselves and with their environment. Can you able to understand that? So ecosystem is nothing but such kind of system where organisms will interact among themselves and also with reference to the with reference to the environment. So that is known as an ecosystem. And here you remember this keyword in ecosystem, what is happening, interactions of organisms and with the physical environment, that is ecosystem. And in ecology, what we are doing, ecology is nothing but it's the systematic study of the interactions among organisms among themselves and with their physical environment. So we are systematically studying that. So ecosystem is the basic structural and functional unit of biosphere or ecology. Can you able to understand that? So if we talk from cell, cell is the basic structural and functional unit of the life, because we will study everything from the point of cell. And here ecosystem is such kind of basic structural and functional unit. So that's how. So at the next level, when you try to study particular fauna and flora that are present in a large geographical area with specific temperature and climatic factors, so then that is known as a biome. Biome is a large geographical area with specific flora and fauna. Flora means animals, flora means vegetation, fauna means animals. So that part, that kind of large geographical area with specific flora and fauna is nothing but biome. Okay, and at the next level we will have the biosphere. So biosphere is the last unit of ecological hierarchy. So in this way you can just see this is how the ecological hierarchy will happen. And till here, till this level, it is related to biological sciences. And from organism point of view, it is related to the ecology. So ecological hierarchy. Yes, you can keep landscape in between biome and ecosystem. So landscape is, it's a space like where we can have, it would be there in between biome as well as ecosystem. Okay, so if we consider 6 levels, so then this would be that 3 plus 3. If we can understand 7, then you can place landscape at here. Okay, landscape also we can consider as one of the level, but nevertheless we can skip it as it is, like we don't have specific characters like this. So that is one thing. So this is one thing. So this is with respect to various ecological various levels of ecological hierarchy. And here we have said that there is, and there would be individual, and the place of living of an organism is nothing but what? Habitat. And in the similar fashion, every organism will have a specific function in an ecosystem. It performs a specific function. So the functional role played by an organism in an ecosystem is nothing but niche. So it is nothing but niche. Niche is nothing but not only the physical space occupied by an organism, rather it is also known as the functional role played by an organism. Let's say all organisms will have specific function. let's say a plant is a producer of the energy, so it plays the role of production of the energy. And consumers, let's say for example any deer will consume the plant, so it plays the role of herbivore. So that kind of functional role played by an organism is known as niche. Okay, you remember that. So that is one thing. So in the similar fashion, for example, if you want to say here in the class also, like for example, you are the students, you are playing the role of students, and now I'm just explaining you, so I'm playing the role of teacher. So I have my specific function, you have your specific function. So likewise, specific role played by an organism or functional role played by an organism in an ecosystem is nothing but niche. Okay, you remember that. And then when we talk from the perspective of population, population means a group of individuals belonging to same species. Here, what we can say with respect to species? Species means it's a group of organisms belonging to same a group of organisms who can interbreed among themselves, and who can produce viable offsprings, fertile offsprings. So this is the condition if you want to say with respect to a species. So how we can just justify this? Let's say for example a tiger is there and another tiger is there. So when a tiger, when it mates with another tiger, so then we will get another small tiger. So this is a fertile offspring. Okay, so this kind of thing, like they are interbreeding among themselves and they are producing fertile offsprings. The condition is that. Okay, and how can we justify this in other way? For example, like you may have an example, like let's say you may cross the horse with donkey. So when horse is crossed with donkey, so then you will get mule. Good. So Kachar, something. So mule is a sterile offspring. It's a sterile offspring. You cannot call horse and donkey as one species because first condition is fulfilled, interbreeding has been done. But what about fertile offspring? This mule is a fertile offspring, so you cannot call horse and donkey as one species. Rather, if you say for example tiger and tiger giving a fertile offspring is a species, so tiger species, lion species, horse species, or like your deer species or anything. So species means this condition should be done. So population is nothing but assemblage of individuals belonging to organisms belonging to different species. Population. So okay, we are this population belonging to same species. So that is population. Okay. So when we talk from community perspective, it's an assemblage of various population. So when we say various population, so people belonging to two or more species would be, organisms belonging to two or more species would be there, populations would be there. So that is population. So community. So in a community, organisms will interact among themselves. Okay. So those interactions which will happen among the various organisms or in a biotic community are nothing but biotic interactions. Okay, so we are saying that in an ecology, in a biosphere, organisms will interact among themselves. So what kind of interactions we can have? So interactions can be useful and interactions can be harmful. So if the interaction is useful to both the organisms, they are nothing but positive interactions. Okay, if the interactions are harmful at least to one species, then it is known as negative interactions. Okay, so based on that we can classify various interactions. So if you see various biotic interactions, you can have types of interactions like mutualism is one kind of interaction where two species will benefit in such kind of interaction. Let's say for example a pollinator and a plant, like bee and a plant. So both of them will get benefited. plants and mycorrhizal fungi. Mycorrhiza, fungi that lives in the roots of the roots of the plants. So clownfish and sea anemones. So both of them will have a kind of mutualistic relationship where both of them will get benefited. Okay, so that is one thing. And commensalism is another thing. So in commensalism, what will happen? One species will be benefited and other one would be unaffected. There is neither harm nor benefit. So likewise, for example, see orchids growing on a mango branch. So you see the examples. For example, this is like honeybees and pollination. So there is a kind of mutualism. So it is getting nourishment and it is getting the pollination. So likewise. So lichens is like another kind of mutualism. So algae and fungi, they both live in close association. So both of them will get benefited. So likewise. Then crocodile and bird association. So usually in the mouth of crocodiles, birds will stay. So birds will clean up the leeches and crocodile will provide it for protection as well as the nutrients. So likewise, so that is mutualism. So both of them are getting benefited. So in the similar fashion, sea anemone and clownfish. So this is sea anemone and this is clownfish. So both of them will have benefit. So that is mutualistic relationship. So commensalism means what? One organism will be benefited and other will be unaffected. Now you think, for example, this is an orchid which is growing on a mango branch. So when you see here what is happening, this is getting the shelter and mango tree doesn't have any effect. So from that point of view, how you can say it is getting benefit and it is neither getting harm nor getting benefit. Likewise. So one is benefited and other is not benefited. So cattle, aggregate and cattle. So it gets its transport at free of cost and it will neither be harmed nor be benefited. Likewise. So this is another example. And then shark fish and sucker fish. So this is shark and this is sucker fish. So it gets fixed to the dorsal fin of the sucker fish and it gets its free of transportation and it gets its protection from the sucker fish. Whereas shark fish. So shark, sucker fish will get that kind and shark will have no effect or nor any harm. Likewise, so that is one. So E. coli bacteria which is living in human intestine. This is another example for commensalism. So then when we talk other negative interaction, predation and prey. Look like tiger and deer. It's an example for predation and prey. So there you can see like tiger is the predator and the deer is the prey. So that's one kind of thing. So there you can have another example like prickly pear cactus and predator moth. In Australia, so this has happened. So in Australia, so there they have introduced a prickly pear cactus. So this has become invasive species and invaded all the area. And there they have to introduce a predator moth, a moth that eats the cactus. So until then the population did not get controlled. So predator moth has started eating the cactus and then this population could able to stop. So predation and prey. So another thing. So likewise. So you can have lion and zebra. Okay, so that is one thing. And bear and fish. This is an example for predator and prey. Okay, likewise. So you have to systematically learn the examples also and likewise. So then next thing is parasitism. So parasitism means one organism would be harmed and other organism would be benefited. So benefit for one and harm for other. Host will be harmed and the organism will be benefited. So we have various parasites, ticks, lices or fleas or all these kind of worms. They are nothing but parasites. So parasites are, it's a kind of negative interaction. Positive interactions are those interactions in which both of them will be benefited or at least one would be benefited, and negative interactions are nothing but those interactions in which at least one organism would be harmed. Okay, so that is one thing. So likewise there are various biotic interactions. So just to go through them. Okay, so likewise and then there are some ecological adaptations. So just go through the document so that you can understand some of the adaptations. So what organisms will go in the ecology. Okay, so go through that through the document and these documents also would be circulated to you if you want. So previous year questions document also. So it would be circulated. So just go through those questions so that you will get to know the importance of what we are studying and how we have to study. So if you study, if you just have a look at this document, in previous year questions document, just go through this. So you will have repeated themes of questions with reference to natural habitat. So there would be a lot of questions with respect to natural habitat. So just go through that. There would be some small questions like description of the term ecosystem, likewise. So just go through them so that you will get to know significance or what themes you have to proceed and what themes you have to learn, likewise. Okay, so all of them would be circulated to you. Just go through this. Okay, so we'll meet, and for the next class you just revise all these basics, and we will meet in the next class. Yes, please.
So when we are saying to be an environmental, they are referring to the addition of the atmosphere.
So 50th edition, 50th World's Environment Day.
So then it would be being celebrated, it would have celebrated 22
in 2022. That was 49th celebration. First was, yes, first was in 1973. Yes. Yes. Do basic. Yes, do basic maths here. It would be done. So 1973, 2023, 50 years. You remember likewise. Just subtract 2023 from 1973. So you will get 50. So that would be that. Okay, don't worry. It is 50th day. Okay. So, okay, so we'll meet on next class. But you revise all these basics, and very, very important. And I am saying like this is one of the most neglected subject, and those who catch us up, environment, ecology, and science and technology, they will emerge as successful persons, because these two subjects are the most neglected subjects. And winners don't do different things; they do things differently, and you do things in a different manner. Okay, so thank you all.